Welcome or welcome back to Trail and Ultra Running Training. My name is Will France. I'm a personal trainer, strength coach, running coach, nutrition person. The whole goal of this podcast is to help you perform better out on the trails and run farther while enjoying this sport that we love to do. If you like the information, I'd really appreciate if you hit subscribe on the relevant platform or leave a rating or review, or arguably even better, just share it with someone else. All of those things help spread the information that we're trying to do here. So if you take a second to go do that, I would really appreciate it. Anyway, let's talk about self-limiting beliefs. Like most things on the internet, I feel like we usually go way too far in one direction when it comes to self-limiting beliefs. There are things that are true about you that can act as limiters. For example, it doesn't matter if I had started training when I was 3. I never would have been a professional marathon runner. My genetics are all wrong. I had a severely deviated septum and like 10% of a normal nasal passage until I was 19 and got surgery. It just wasn't going to happen. And it's important to recognize those things because it allows us to set achievable goals and not like constantly be questing for something that is just never going to happen. But it's also important to not like fall into them so hard that we fail to achieve any of our goals and just like completely write it off as something that we can never do. Because because I was just a runner in heavy quotes, it also caused me to limit basically all cardio, which really didn't do me any favors. And even after my nasal surgery, I didn't really think I could run, so I just didn't do it. I biked, I got better, like things were drastically improved. But when you're starting to run later in life compared to other people, then your barometer might just be a little off and you might hold yourself to these expectations that are unrealistic. And since I wasn't a runner, I didn't run. And then we just ended up spiraling into avoiding something that I could have like found fun much earlier in my life. Like even further, like nasal stuff aside, I have asthma. There have been signs forever that I've had asthma. Um, but I just like again, I wasn't a runner, so I didn't look into it at all. Now I'm on a really low dose of daily steroid inhaler, and it does wonders. And I can run, and I'm performing better than ever. And I would love to not have asthma, but it's what it is. And before we get a lot of comments, I've tried all the non-steroid stuff. I tried it for years, did the cordyceps and whatever, blah, blah, blah. I know it works for people. None of it worked for me. But these examples are just to say that like some self-limiting beliefs can be true and unhelpful. Like I'm not really built for endurance. That's a fact. But believing that also held me back from doing something that I now really truly love. And I see this all the time in the gym. Let's take arthritis as an example. Like a lot of people have arthritis, probably myself included, if we're being honest. It's really likely that if you've done some level of like mid to higher level sports for a long time, then you're going to have arthritis by your 30s, and that's okay. Most people do. And we see the same thing with like disc degeneration in your spine if you like to lift heavy things, or the torn labrum in my hip that I seem to had forever. Now, this isn't medical advice before we get into this. Like, please don't just go like send it in the gym or on the trail because you listen to a podcast, because a podcast is never a place to really get medical advice. But maybe the issue is not as much I have some arthritis as much as it is like we're just kind of weak. And that's not a negative. I know that sounds mean, but we can make a factual assessment that we should be stronger. If you can't squat your body weight, then it's very likely not only the arthritis that is causing some knee pain, right? If we can't really move well in your hips, then it's not completely the arthritis that's causing some knee pain. It doesn't help, right? That's probably what we're feeling, but it's mostly the fact that we're losing a daily battle with gravity and kind of pole vaulting through life with every step and putting an insane amount of stress in all like joints and tendons, ligaments, because like muscles just don't carry you very well. And I have two pretty good examples on either end of the spectrum of this. Like both of these people have arthritis in their knees. One person can't really squat body weight to a box. And the issue isn't the issue isn't only the arthritis. I asked this person to get imaged before we started training, because that's what you do as a professional. Wanted to make sure there wasn't something else going on, like a torn meniscus or something, but it's just a small amount of arthritis. Now, that doesn't help. It hurts. But the issue here is largely that this person's muscles aren't providing enough support on a daily basis. And just they're losing a constant battle to gravity that we all go through every step of every day. And when our muscles can't carry us through that, then bones, tendons, ligaments, etc., are taking the brunt of that load, right? And this is the larger cause of the problem, even though the pain is from the degeneration in the cartilage. Now, on the other end, former high-level athlete also has arthritis. This person is very strong. They can deadlift and squat well more than body weight. They move fairly well, especially as a higher level athlete. You end up in movement patterns that supported your sport. So it's not perfect, but none of us are perfect. In this case, the arthritis is more of a primary player. And a lot of the pain there might really not get fully better without some form of knee replacement, right? Now, even with this person, we've made a ton of improvements by working on function, working on like hip movement and how movements, how they do movements, right? Structure plays a role, it just does, and that will be some level of limiter for all of us. But most of us haven't done anything to maximize or even greatly improve our function. And we can see this in running from getting stronger in the muscles where we have some deficiencies, or like getting better movement patterns. If we don't have any external or internal rotation in our hips, then we're going to have some problems like IT band syndrome if we can't keep our knee in line as we run. If our running form is off, then we're going to very likely end up with things like shin splints or calf pain or whatever, right? This is how we can improve our function and our strength as runners to like outwork our structural limitations. The goal of a lot of training is to teach the body to outfunction our structure. Now, we need to be realistic. If you didn't start running until your mid-40s, then you're not going to win any of the marathon majors, and that's okay. You might not run a sub like 18 or 20 hour 100 miler. That's also okay. But we shouldn't let these facts hold us back from performing our best and doing the things that we really want to do and hitting big goals and pursuing big goals and having fun outside. A great example of this is Lane Norton, different sport, powerlifting, but really just textbook example of what we're talking about here. He's a researcher, nutrition coach, PhD, record-setting powerlifter, and he has had so many back injuries and problems. He had to take like 5 years, I think it was, to rebuild himself into a powerlifter after his last major injury. And I'm following his training right now. He's in his mid-40s. He's competing in about 6 weeks at some world competition, and it looks highly likely that he might set some world records for his weight and age class in powerlifting. At the very least, he's going to set some personal records. And he's had major back problems, and he's smoothly pulling 650 pounds off the floor for reps, and he's squatting nearly 600 pounds, and he's benching 350 or something. No matter the limitations, you can still make tons of improvements on your performance. And we just don't really know where the ceiling is unless you try. Again, try safely, like ease into these things. We shouldn't just go from 0 to 100 miles a week because we like are trying to outwork our problems. But if we take a responsible approach and build up and like give it a shot, do the work Like, do the hard work, do the boring work, do the mobility stuff that none of us like doing, that we all do while we're in pain, and then completely stop doing as soon as we're out of pain. Like, those things are important here. We need to accept that limitations do exist and then try to not let them hold us back from performing well and enjoying the sport that we love to do. I know it's a pretty short one today. Um, I hope this was useful. If you like it, again, I'd really appreciate if you subscribe, rate, share, whatever with someone. I don't do ads and I don't really do a Patreon. I don't see see it as hugely beneficial to me. I just want this to be a good, accessible source of information on how to train better so you can do great at your next race. I am a coach, so if you'd like to work with me, please reach out. But the podcast and these videos are just a way for me to help more people than I'd personally be able to coach. So thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another one.